Hey guys, it's mcfixit here. We have a 2006 Honda Ridgeline first generation, and we're going to be changing out the front brakes and rotors. Stick around for all of the tools, the supplies, and how you can do this yourself.
Here are the tools and the supplies I used. I used these brake pads. They're made by Carquest. These are kind of the higher end ones because it comes with more of the stuff. It is a PXD1584H, comes with both the fronts. Then I ended up going with the painted rotors, which is a YH145770P. You will need two of those. They are very heavy as well. I already did this video. I like to do the parts at the end and supplies because sometimes you run into things you didn't know you were going to. Brake clean, really important. Make sure you get two of these. These are little caliper compression tools. You are going to want some lubrication. Now this did come with a little tube of lubrication. That's great if that's what you need. I like to use that because I've had it forever. 10 millimeter. That will help with getting the brakes bled. And then I do have a little bottle with a little hose that I use. You're going to need a couple of different types of ratchets. You are going to want something with torque as well. You need to have something that gets up to over 100 foot-pounds. Then this one was 53 foot-pounds. You're going to need 17 and a 19 and a 22 millimeter. You might need smaller ones depending on what size. So whether it's that 1/2 inch or not, you are going to need a 12 millimeter as well. I did need a swivel with the bigger size. I used a pick as well. Hammer is really important. Instead of using a air impact, I just use my rigid. Works really well. It's a 1/2 inch chuck in there. That's why we need some different sizes. I used a floor jack, then 2 jacks, and I had to beat it off with a sledgehammer on one of them because it was really stuck on there. Then also I needed a drill, and this was I believe it was a 3/16 because one of the screws was completely seized and I tried to get it off, did not work. So that does happen. So you'll need a Phillips screwdriver or an impact gun, but it's pretty easy when they're that old to rust out. So that's all the tools, supplies I used for this. You might need some different ones, but this worked pretty well for what I needed. I also had a pan back here just to catch debris, and you can use cardboard as well. Okay, let's start with the front right passenger side, and we're gonna go ahead and take the wheel off. It's already jacked up and has support jacks, so it is a 22 millimeter. And we'll go ahead and take the wheel off. A lot of times it takes a little bit of a hit on the top just like that, and that will pop that off. And we'll go ahead and put the wheel out of the way. So today we are actually going to change out the rotors and the pads, and so I'll show you how to do both of those. So you have 2 bolts, one here and one here. They're both a 17 millimeter. And so we're gonna go ahead and begin to break them open. So there's one, there's the other. Go ahead and get this one off. I believe that is a 12 millimeter. So go ahead and get this one off. And this just holds your brake line. Okay, go ahead and pull that down. I do like to put the bolt back into that one just so we don't forget it or lose it. And that allows your line to hang free. Then we'll go ahead and grab some bungees. Go up about as high as you can on the strut. Then we're gonna rock this kind of back and forth. Sometimes you have to push these pins in a little bit to get it started. There it goes. And this is heavy, so you do want to make sure you have something that can hold it. Sometimes it's easier just to go through both of the little holes right there. And you just don't want that to get crimped. That's the biggest thing. So you have 2 more bolts, and they are both a 19 millimeter. And the top one, you are going to need a little bit of a swivel joint on it. And so the caliper bracket just completely fell off, which is totally fine because we're going to clean it up and we're going to be putting new calipers on. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. There is not a lot of pad left. I know the other side is worse, and the rotor is just completely messed up on the other side. And then we'll see if we can yeah, this rotor is just gonna come right off. The other side is much worse. It doesn't even have this much room on it. It's only got just a little bit.
So I wanted to show you the more difficult side, and with this there is a little Phillips screw here that holds the brake rotor in. They did this on the assembly line so it doesn't fall off. Not really necessary. Sometimes you can get it off with a little impact gun. They do make a specialty tool. I don't own one. A lot of times you strip these because it is from the north where the vehicle is, and if that's the case we will have to drill it out, but let's go ahead and try it with a little impact gun.
Except this time, and I did strip it. I knew that was going to possibly happen. So we are going to have to bore that one out. So I am going to have to get some drill bits and cut that out. I was hoping I didn't have to do that. So because that did strip, I always buy a set of these around like Father's Day or Black Friday. They sell them pretty cheap. It's just a set of bits from DeWalt. It does help you be able to knock out some of that. I kind of start with a smaller one and just kind of work my way up. The reason I say use kind of a cheaper or an older set is you will dull these, but it's good for lots of applications, and you just get a little bit bigger size each time. And I believe it did just finish and pop off just like that. I'll actually tell you what size that one is if I can still read it. That is a 3/16 inch dead center. And now is the fun part. We got to find a way to pull this off now that we have it free. Go ahead and put your lug nuts on a little bit just to make sure you don't mar up threading on that. It's not going to hurt if you use a little sledgehammer and go ahead and hit it. It just makes it a lot quicker. So now that we have this here, we're going to go ahead, grab a little bit of brake cleaner. And you can tell this originally had some screws in the rotor, and this side they'd already been taken out, so this has probably been changed on this side. The other one still had one, but they're so seized on there because I live in the Rust Belt that I had to take a drill and drill them out with a 3/16. Let's go ahead and get our new rotor. I did opt to get a little bit more expensive rotor. This is a painted rotor to see if it will help the rust, but living in the north, I know everything is just going to rust out eventually. But they surely look very nice, at least today. And I'm gonna do my best not to touch as much of the rotor as possible to just keep it as nice as long as we can. And because my fingers have a lot of oil and grease on them, even though I really don't want them to, they still will. So the next thing to do is we'll go ahead and get these off of here. So if you just use your hands, you can normally separate these out. So I just knocked it out. Just taking the back end of a screwdriver, and both of those popped right out. We'll get rid of the old hardware as well. If there's anything that needs cleaned up, these are actually pretty clean for being as old as the vehicle is. So I am happy about that. So I am going to go ahead and put the bracket back on that uses those bigger bolts.
We're just putting these on by hand right now, and they will tighten down pretty good just by using your fingers.
There it goes.
And just try to keep it off of the new rotor as much as possible so it's not clinging against it.
So the smaller bolts go where the actual caliper will sit in there. And it says it's 101 foot-pounds. So make sure if you have a torque wrench, you have that done correctly up to 101. And go till it clicks. And you may need to kind of stand up because you're putting 101 foot-pounds of torque on it, and that's hard to do seated. Just go till it clicks, just like that. So that bracket is on there exactly how that's supposed to go. And we'll go ahead and put in our new brake pads. So these are PXD1584H. These are a little bit more expensive than what I normally go with, but it does come with the hardware, and that's what I do like. And so you get brand new. So go ahead and seat those properly. You're just taking them and kind of pushing them up into place. And again, try to stay off of your new rotors as much as you can. And then this right here is the new brake pad. What I like to do instead of using the packet is just go get one of these. It comes with a nice little brush on it. You do not want to get this on your actual rotor, but a little bit. I call it painting. To get that to go in just like that. And then remember, this piece right here is on the inside. That's your little, so you can tell how much wear you have. So we are not going thick. Just a little touch just to help it move. And the wear little bar is on the bottom of that. And so that right there is what we want. And then I go ahead and paint up both sides. This is kind of an optional thing, but I do think it does help with some of the squealing and everything else. That is what that little pad's supposed to do. But I just painted up real quick. Do a little Bob Ross action on it. Just make sure not to get any of this grease on the actual rotor. Next thing we got to do is go ahead and start to compress this. So you're going to grab an old brake pad, preferably the one that was supposed to be there. Then, because this is a double one, I'll have to get both of my tools. And this seems weird, but you do want to make sure you are pressing it in properly. So I just get both of my tools started. So it's just the same thing kind of repeated. And I get it to where it's kind of snug before you release anything. And then we have to go up and open up the cap to your brake system. So I'm just making it snug to it, just like that. Not actually compressing anything yet. So you're gonna go ahead and take this and open it up. Make sure you do have enough fluid in it. The fluid looks good right now for me. And then this one also does come with little pins that go in here that just help the brake stay. And it actually kind of pushes the brake out, honestly. It just makes sure it doesn't wear when it's not supposed to. It's supposed to reduce some of the squealing as well. Not sure how well they actually work, but it comes with it, so let's just go ahead and do it. So this is kind of weird. You go slow and you just kind of open. So you're just opening just a little bit, letting it sit for a few seconds. Compressed all of the way out. We will bleed it at the end once we get both sets of pads done and rotors. I will say it's actually kind of convenient having two of these, because you kind of, by the time you get done with one, you can actually have the other one start going. And you can tell these pads did not wear evenly as well, which is a pretty good sign. You probably need to change your rotors as well. So go ahead and get that out of there. Same thing with this one. And it does look like the little kind of nipple thing on that. I'll have to get that out in a second. So I did put these little clamps in as well. That is kind of optional, but it does come with them. So you might as well do it. Except it is kind of hard to get them on with everything else going on. The top one did kind of fall out, but Hopefully now it stays in place. And we will just kind of wiggle that into place just like so. And that's a whole lot thicker than what it was prior. I don't know if these have ever been changed out. This vehicle has almost 250,000 miles on it. I know I have only changed the brake pads once, and that was at about 180. So we had a good life out of these brake pads. So we'll go ahead and put that 17 millimeter back on, and it's 53 foot-pounds of torque. And these are quite long as well. Just till it clicks. Go ahead and do the bottom one. Okay. That looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and spray it down with brake cleaner. On the driver's side, don't forget to put this little bolt back in. It is a 12 millimeter, and it's 16 foot-pounds of torque. I'm not going to actually torque this one down to spec. This is my own personal vehicle, and I'm just going to get it tight. So just one little push down. Again, that's 16 foot-pounds, number 12 millimeter. We're going to bleed the brakes.
We are going to go ahead and bleed this brake in a minute, but we have to do the other side first. I'm not going to show you all the details of the other side, but you'll be able to do the exact same process. I did show you if it gets stuck how to get it off though. And for bleeding, we will start with the front left driver's side, then move to the front right side.
So to go ahead and bleed the brakes, make sure your cap is open up top. You are going to need to get the bleeder cap screw off. Sometimes a pick is helpful. You don't have to, that's kind of optional. Make sure to save that little cap. And it is a 10 millimeter. And this is just a bottle with a hose attached to it. And it just allows it to cleanly get out of there. Okay, I just like to go ahead and prep it by breaking it. So what we're going to do, have somebody in the vehicle, they're going to push down the pedal 1, 2, 3, and hold. They're going to continue to hold it. You're going to break the line. After you've break the line, you'll see if any air bubbles come out. You'll probably get some. This has a lot of miles on it. So you may have to do this 2 or 3 or 4 times till you don't really see many more bubbles. So let's go ahead and do it. And you can see all the air bubbles. Let's do it again.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, that looked good right there. We're just going to end it there. One thing I will say is you do the front driver's side first, and then the front passenger side, then you go back to the rear right. So the rear passenger, and then the rear left driver's side. So again, front left, front right, right rear, right left. So let's go ahead and go to the other side. Do make sure when you're taking this off, you're careful with it. You don't want that everywhere. Go ahead and take off your 10 millimeter, put the bleeder cap back on. Do make sure you put on your cap, and please make sure you do have enough brake fluid in there. That is really important. And I prefer to use only Honda fluids, so that's my choice. They are a little bit more pricey, but they do help out a lot. Make sure to go ahead and clean it with some brake cleaner. Then we'll go ahead and get the tire put on. And go ahead and get your 5 lug nuts and go ahead and put them on by hand. This will ensure you don't strip them when using an impact gun. Then we're going to go ahead and use the impact gun, 22 millimeter, 94 foot-pounds, but I have a 100 foot-pound stick here, so we're going to just use the torque stick at 100. And then once that's done, you can go ahead and jack up your car the rest of the way, get out your jacks, and go ahead and get a test run. I hope this was helpful. Please go ahead and like and subscribe and comment if you've not done so already on how to go ahead and do your own brakes, and lots of other videos out there for you to enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great day.